Hello, welcome to this lecture video. I'm teacher Melai and let's talk about converse, inverse, and contrapositive. In our previous topics, we discussed connectives or compound propositions wherein one of this is the implication. So implication is the use of if, then, which is also called the conditional implication. So here we use one-headed arrow where P and Q are propositions. So the implication is P implies Q, or if P, then Q. P is actually the hypothesis and Q is the conclusion. So if we have conditional proposition, we can state this into converse form, inverse form, and into contrapositive. It is said that it is stated in converse form if we're just going to reverse the position of P and Q by stating Q first before P. So Q now becomes the hypothesis and P becomes the conclusion. While for the inverse, it is not P implies not Q, or this is negating our implications, P and Q. So by negating it using the tilde sign, this is what we call as a tilde sign. So in our previous video, we did not use this notation, but this is another way of presenting the word not. So it is used also for negation. So this is not P implies not Q, or if not P, then not Q. While the last one is the contrapositive, this is negating converse, which is not Q implies not P, or it can also stated as not Q, if not Q, then not P. So let us have an example of that by considering, so let us consider statements or other propositions. So we are going to let P be the COVID-19 is a pandemic. And the other one is we are going to let Q be the Philippines is under a state of emergency. So the Philippines is under a state of emergency. So let us first write this into implication form. So in implication form, so that is P implies Q. So in implication form, this is stated as if COVID-19, so let's just copy this. If COVID-19 is a pandemic, then the Philippines is under a state of emergency. Okay, so this is the implication. So if we're going to state this into converse, so converse is Q implies P, or this is stated as, so let us place again if. So instead of saying P first, of course, this is Q, so we will copy the Philippines is under a state of emergency. So if the Philippines is under a state of emergency, then COVID-19 is a pandemic. This is the converse. While if we're going to write this also in inverse form, so we will just negate our implication. That is, not P implies not Q, or as stated, we can use the curl or rather the tilde sign. Not P implies not Q. So this are um, the same. Okay, so in stating this, we are going to place, so let us state that if it is stated as if COVID-19 is not a pandemic, then the Philippines is not under a state of emergency. So if COVID-19 is not a pandemic, then the Philippines is not under a state of emergency. Now, for contrapositive, so let us also write this into contrapositive. For contrapositive, we are negating our converse. So that is not Q implies not P. So how to state this? Then we are stating it as if the Philippines is not under a state of emergency, then COVID-19 is not a pandemic. So contrapositive is if the Philippines is not under a state of emergency, then COVID-19 is not a pandemic. So this is how to state our implication form or conditional proposition into converse, inverse, and contrapositive. So this is all for this lecture video. Thank you for watching.